Welcome to the February 17th edition of the PFF Forecast. Got a good one here for you today. We've got a friend of the podcast, Darius Butler, coming to hang out with us. We're going to talk about a whole heck of a lot of things. We're going to talk about best basketball players, former football players that play basketball. We're going to talk about best one-on-one receivers in the parks of South Florida. And we're going to talk about the best free agent receivers that are in the free agency period right now. Talk a little bit about Deshaun Watson, where he thinks he'll go. It's a really fun podcast. Darius is awesome. Let's rock. All right, we're going to get to Darius here in just a second, but I got to do like a temperature check. And I don't mean like outside temperature check, internal for you.
Did you see the consternation we got?
No.
Yeah, there were people who were not happy with our discussion of snow last week.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How did I miss this?
I mean, people far and wide listen to the show.
Yeah, it's true.
But people were, questioning whether I have a Minnesota card anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you disparaged the snow.
I disparaged the snow. And I'll fully admit, like, I've gotten softer in old age, just with respect to snow.
Not anything else.
Yeah. Like I was team no sleeves in college.
I received shockingly no hate for not liking the snow, which will really surprise you.
Well, I think people believe that would
it's par for the course.
Yeah. People
helps them hate me more. Yeah.
People expected me to like be pro snow just to like, be different, but I'm not. I agree with you 100%. This sucks. It's awful.
Rub some snow on it.
Well, look, and the worst thing about it is when the snow has gotten so bad that the ways to travel to places with snow, like if you ski, God bless you, but you can't even fly there right now. Like there are places in this country where like hotel rooms, we talked to Darius about this, $700 somewhere.
Yeah.
Just because people are trying to get out of, Fort Worth. And
there's a nice little bunny hill where my apartment is. You can grab some skis. Do you ski?
No, I've never skied before.
Have you you never snowboarded?
I've never snowboarded. I do inner tubes, of course,
I would
tubing.
This makes a lot of sense. I would pay a lot of money, not because I want to see you suffer, but just for the pure comedic relief of seeing you strap on skis.
So here's the thing, as you know, we talked about this off air. Almost everything with me, I'm awful at it the first time and I learn very quickly. So like my first time skiing would be an absolute atrocity, illegal in Alabama and like a bunch of counties in Mississippi, but I would probably be good the second day.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. So the odds, if I were a betting man, and I am, you would say an 8-hour day in is what it would take you to make it down let's say an intermediate slope without falling.
Yes. In assuming the trials can go to like the second day,
right?
Trials to infinity. I could get one trial through without.
No. Okay. Here's the bet. You get 1 day to practice and learn. The second day, you get one warm-up run on a different course. And then you have to go to a new course.
And I get one try.
And you get one try.
But like Molly Bloom in Molly's game fell on her.
Stop this. This is not an impossible thing. You just made the claim that you think by day 2 you could make it happen.
All right. Well,
how about this? I will give you day 2. You can have 5 warm-up runs. The only condition is that
they're on a different slope.
They're on a different slope. They can be the same level of difficulty, but it has to be a different slope.
Yes.
I've got $1,000 on it.
$1,000.
I'm trying to make this interesting.
I mean, I'm willing to go through it. Yeah. If you can get somebody on the other side of that bet, I'll be the guinea pig.
Here's my thinking. Here's my thesis. The first day will go so poorly that your ass isn't making it to day 2.
But I don't know. So look, I'm not in
$1,000 might be enough to make you get out there.
I'm not in as great a shape as I used to be, obviously, but I am in. I still have characteristics of somebody who could probably do a decent job skiing.
Okay. With that being said, we're going to get to, if you want to take this bet, let us know. we are going to get to Darius Butler here in just a second. But before we do, want to make sure that I tell you guys all about our good friends at DraftKings and what's happening. Now, no more football. Draft props are, a little ways out. You've got some Super Bowl
steam on Trevor Lawrence not being the number one overall pick.
Interesting. Some people who like your boy, Zach Wilson. But really the thing to keep in mind here is that basketball is taking center stage. Okay. So the madness is coming in March. And right now, to prep for that, to kind of get you ready to go, DraftKings Sportsbook, the best sportsbook app out there, has this deal. Sign up, use promo code PFF, and then you can pick any basketball game you want. Bet $1 and win 100 if they make a single three-pointer. That's it. You could go out there, and the way that they shoot three-pointers, the rate at which they shoot them, you could make a three-pointer. So go to DraftKingsSportsbook.com. Make it happen. It's a no-brainer. They also have UEFA Champions League stuff coming up. They have great odds boosts on all other basketball games, college and pro, soccer, hockey, the whole deal. Go download the app, use promo code PFF when you sign up and get that deal. You must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Michigan, and Virginia are the only places. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. And in Virginia, 888-532-3500.
We have breaking news in the NFL. We talked about this player already. Tim Tebow is retired from baseball after 210 minor league hits.
Incredible. The best thing about Tim Tebow that I saw this week is someone made a video of everyone on Urban Meyer's Florida team, and it was like murderer, 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 Tim Tebow.
Missionary.
So there you go. And here is another Florida man, Darius Butler. We have a good friend of the podcast, Darius Butler, the co-host of the Man to Man Pod, which you should check out, by the way, if you have not already. Everything DB. One of our favorites, in large part because he is a DB, but he's also a former player who talks about betting. He doesn't pull any punches, and he gets to do something that you and I are both very jealous of, which is play basketball in the sunshine. Darius, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. It's going good. I can't complain at all right now.
How's your basketball game going?
It's getting better. It's getting better. I got to do something that stays in shape. I got to beat up on the little neighborhood kids, little brothers, whatever it takes to keep my confidence, keep my competitive juices flowing. So it's going good, man. Been blessed, obviously, with this Florida weather. It's some crazy weather, some crazy things going on everywhere else. So I'm blessed, man. Can't complain.
I want to recruit Darius onto whenever there is a pickup basketball game amongst like football media. I want to recruit Darius onto our squad.
We were in a tournament. What was it going to be? You and me, George, and then it was going to be.
We have some talent. Okay.
Joe Thomas and Andrew Hawkins was going to be a team, and then was it Chris Sims and.
Well, Chris Sims and Florio, but that doesn't count.
I don't think there's something I want to do more athletically the rest of my life, 35 to infinity, than dunk.
That would be
like I want to dunk so hard on Florio on a basketball. But yeah, if
we could have, because Bruce Gradkowski,
Bruce is still athletic.
He was all state in high school. He's still got a little bit of athleticism. He's got a jumper. Steve Palazzolo is like 8 feet tall, so even though he's not very good, he's an asset there.
Mike Renner's like really good.
Mike Renner's good.
That was one of my our favorite things to do as players in the off season. Celeb basketball games. So that was one hooper that slept on probably around the NFL. One of the best hoopers that I played with was Josh McCown.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Josh McCown can totally. Josh McCown can like probably dunk like anybody.
Yeah. Still, like I played with him a few years, kind of back to back with Anquan Bolden's game, and he can go. He can go.
Yeah, because have you seen Josh McCown's combine stats? They're unreal for a quarterback.
Weirdly, I have not.
I did.
I'm not surprised that you have. What? Give me an NBA comp for Josh McCown.
Oh man, it's crazy. Kind of like the old savvy guy with the pass, like his vision is passing, but I wouldn't even say sneaky athletic. Like he's athletic. Damn, I would say almost like an older LaMelo Ball.
Oh wow,
older LaMelo Ball, but that's the kind of flair he plays with. That's the kind of game he played, and you know he's got a nicer looking jump shot. But
McCown ran a 4.57. He had a 38.5-inch vert and a 10-foot broad jump. I mean, like the guy's athletic.
If he came out now, they'd be like, "This is the next Patrick Mahomes."
Well, that's what they did.
Exactly.
Remember Matt Jones, the Arkansas QB, who
I remember.
came out, had the hair, and like ran a 4.3, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is the next great wide receiver." Like I feel like, you know, McCown was sort of, you know, McCown. I don't think he's that athletic, but like they were rushing to like convert these old quarterbacks into receivers back then.
It's interesting you use the word convert because he was almost going to be a part of the Texans organization as a coach.
I love Josh to death, but that was Houston being Houston, man.
Yeah.
We could go.
This offseason has been outrageous, and we're only 2 weeks in, and we got a little bit of a taste of it with the Stafford trade before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When you were a free agent, I believe one time, right?
I was a free agent a couple of times. It's just not, you know, big. Yeah.
But you were like in that sort of like March situation. What is it for a player? Like, are you constantly looking at sort of the news? Are you kind of seeing like if another team signed a cornerback or a safety, were you like constantly looking at those things, or was that something you left your agent to and you're kind of like, I'm just gonna let the chips fall where they may?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's situation is kind of different. It depends on kind of, are you a free agent that kind of, you got to wait for some dominoes to fall before you know, and that kind of sets the tone or sets the stage for your contract, or are you one of those top guys who are going to be off the market or don't even reach the market? So it depends on, you know, where you are, you know, in your career, you know, in the NFL. Once you kind of get around 30, it's a totally different ball game. They look at you completely different unless you're a quarterback. So it's a lot of different things, you know, at factor that goes into that. But and it depends on what type of person you are. If you're a type of guy who hires your agent, and like, all right, I'm just let him completely deal with that. I'm just focus on ball, focus on whatever else. Or you one of those players who are more involved in that and, you know, paying attention to the game. You see what other players are getting, and then you realize how powerful the media is too, you know, because the media plays a big role in who the fans, you know, believe is a better player, who the writers talk about more. So all those things kind of factor in, but it depends on the situation. But your team usually sets the tone for your free agency, depending on whatever it is that your team and those other guys around the league know. So whatever tone they set usually is how, you know, how your free agency process is going to go.
You mentioned the media, and there's like, I think of this with a guy that's not a free agent, but there seems to be this narrative that's being pushed by his team, which is Carson Wentz. And it's like, oh, we're waiting for 2 first-round picks, gold, frankincense, myrrh. We'd like a new Ferrari. And until
they just
we
need
get
some wise men, frankly.
Right. And until we get that, look, we're not trading him. But to me, when I hear that, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is coming from the team, and you might hear things that are coming from the agent. Are you, now that you're on the other side, are you, whenever you see something come out, are you like, oh yeah, that's an agent, or oh yeah, that's a team, or I know?
Yeah, and you kind of know that as a player, you know what type of games, you know, your agent plays, what type of games their team plays. So when, you know, this player was offered this contract with this amount of guaranteed money, it's kind of, you know, you paint him out to be the bad guy, and everybody has their sources now. So it has kind of changed even since I left the game till now. It's like so many more sources and so many more, you know, I guess leaks that come out intentionally or unintentionally. And that was, I guess, more frowned upon, you know, and now it's like, you know, that's just the way things are done now. So it's changed in that regard too, you know, who kind of wins in that media game. But every situation is different. You got certain teams that do business a certain way, and then you got others who kind of play different games. So it really depends on, you know, what type of situation the player is in with, you know, each individual team.
And then you have the Houston Texans.
It's so interesting, right? It's so interesting, right? Because the media is making players so much more valuable in a number of different ways, right? You have, obviously, the TV deals are going to drive the value of the contracts up. You're already seeing quarterbacks, I think rightfully so, exercising power that they have not exercised in the history of the game, which is, you know, good to see, because the game is nothing without the players. But then you also see sort of like, you know, more players have careers in media after. not only signing up with the big names like ESPN, but doing it sort of independently, like you, Darius, and other guys like Jeff, like guys that we've had on the show, where it's
Pat McAfee is a great example.
Exactly,
And
killing it. Yeah.
You look at that and you say, okay, what are the costs? The costs are, of course, that content is king, and so part of that content thing is the media has to play up stories 365 days a year, and that's kind of like what used to not happen. There was more of a gentleman's game. I think now it's sort of like anything goes. But I think in the long run, it does benefit the players because everybody's so much more interested in this game. And people, I think, are a little bit more awake to the fact that the players drive the value of the league. And so I think eventually the spoils will become even bigger.
Yeah, it's just just the internet. The internet changes everything. It just attention. How long can you keep people's attention, whether they're spending money, whether they're gambling, sports gambling becoming more popular, fantasy football, all these different things that now people are so much more engaged with the players, and they have these different platforms, whether it's Twitter or Twitch or Instagram, whatever your medium, maybe they're a streamer in the esports space. So there's so many different things that you can do to build your brand that, you obviously going to create more power. And I think players, you see other leagues and, NBA or baseball and different things that different people can do that the players in the NFL never were able to do. And if it's going to start with anybody, it's going to start with the quarterbacks 9 times out of 10, and then it kind of will trickle down to everybody else. But, I enjoy seeing it. I'm always pro player, even though, being on this side and the media side and understanding kind of the machine behind it. Like, I don't want to say everything's for clicks, but that's what you're competing for. Like, are they staying on your screen for 4 seconds, 5 seconds? Are they engaging with your content? So that's what the narrative is going to be. So, it kind of goes back and forth. I like it though. I'm enjoying the evolution of it.
Enjoying the
what do you think? Do you think so? Obviously with Watson, it looks like it looks, I think that he's still a favorite to be traded, but I think it's a non-trivial chance that he stays in Houston for some time. Wilson,
what do you mean for some time?
Like, I think
to start this season,
to have him to let him sit out until week 10.
Wow. And what do you think?
And not accrue a year.
I mean, if I'm Nick Caserio coming in that situation, that's something you got to deal with before the season, whether you can smooth things out with him or not, which is not looking like that's going to be the case. I feel like at this point, Houston just got to get the most they can for him, because he doesn't want to be there. He's made that known. He's made that obvious. I say at this point, you work something out with his agent and say, hey, let's, find the best deal there is, out there for us, because you can't build a winning culture as a head coach, as a GM, as a locker room, when your main guy doesn't want to be there. It doesn't matter how good he is if he doesn't want to be there and be, essentially the general. Like you're not going to be worth anything. So you can't move forward with that. So I feel like you got to handle that situation. Either you smooth it out within the organization, or, hey, David, please go find the best deal there is out there.
And don't you think? Okay, so hold on.
Go for it.
So don't you think then that it has to happen before the draft?
This is Houston we're talking about. Right. I feel like that's too much common sense. It would be for them to hold on to him as long as possible till it just gets ugly, kind of how it looked with the Rockets in the same city. Like, at some point you have to, I guess, learn from your mistakes. So you let JJ walk, you let that be clean. So now you're at a point where this is already, looking messy, essentially. So just handle it. And I feel like at this point, just blow it up and move on.
Because I have a question about just, is this salvageable? Because we've seen relationships be patched up before, but I don't know if this one crossed a line that you could just never, because they legitimately, you're talking about a team 3 years ago where the owner, who was now is passed, but his son's the owner now, made some very bad, very stupid and disparaging comments. And the players don't forget that stuff, right? And then you have like a process of hiring a head coach that you just signed the player to a humongous deal. And they had 4 wins last year, and Deshaun Watson was worth like 3.7 of them. Like, he's your franchise, and you don't consult him at all. Like, Darius,
especially after telling him you will.
Yeah, exactly. So so in my opinion, if I'm Houston, if there is a 10% chance I can make it work with Deshaun, I try my best. But I fear that there's a 0% chance that he'll come back to the table at all. And maybe probably rightfully so.
Yeah, I feel like it's at that point. I feel like it's beyond that point. And I feel like Houston did everything to, I guess, push it further, in a worse direction. They fired the head equipment, the head equipment guy, which doesn't seem like a big deal outside of the building, but inside of the building as a player, like that's like a part of your like that's a part of your silo. Like, so when you start to do things like that, I believe the head of PR, I believe her name was Amy.
Yeah,
she was fired.
Right. And everybody got upset about that.
Yeah. Everyone's upset about that. So when you see, the president step down, seeing those things happen time and time again, and then hearing, obviously I know a bunch of players. I hit, some of my Houston guys, hey man, like what's that? And they tell you it's kind of like everybody's saying a lot of the same things. And then I think even bigger and more powerful than all of that put together was Andre Johnson coming out and speaking out.
The Andre Johnson comments, did that surprise you? Like, what did that tell you about the situation? Are there any other things, maybe not, you can't name the player or anything, but like, what else have you heard from that where you're like, oh man, this is worse than I think anyone knows?
I won't go into details, but it's just, people, you have different cultures around the league, and a lot of things can kind of go on behind the scenes for a while until it kind of just meets that point where what you do in the dark comes to the light. So just a lot of things that different experiences that people have that are all kind of negative. Not all negative, but mostly, a lot of things. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to put anybody out there, but it's just worse than even what it looks like. And even from what we see, it's bad. So I understand what Deshaun wants to get out of there. People around the league understand it. His own teammates understand it. And like I said, Andre Johnson coming out and speaking like he did, I think that kind of put a seal on things.
Well, and it's so hard, right? Because players are only the top players for a short flicker of time, right? Like,
yeah,
somebody after the Super Bowl was saying, oh my God, what if Pat doesn't get back? And it's like, if you're Deshaun Watson, you're like, look, I just wasted 4 years of my career, and everybody's like, oh, wait it out. Things will get better. It's like, do you really want to be in the second 4 years of your career playing for a team with no hope? Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. I mean, and it sucks that he'll have to start. And it sucks. Look, Houston deserves better than this, right? Like, like they deserve better than this. And it's just really frustrating, but it will be another city's benefit. What do you think, Darius? Where would you put Deshaun Watson in sort of a dream scenario for the NFL?
For the NFL?
For the NFL. No,
I'll probably go.
Let's go down, because we're trying to figure this out when we were talking about who to bet, Super Bowl futures, like what the odds are. And we were saying so much falls on Deshaun Watson. So you have a player's perspective. You know that he's lost consistently with a bad Houston team.
Yeah.
What's his power ranking right now of places he might go?
That's tough to do. I answer the first question. Best for the NFL would no doubt be that trade that everybody's talking about for some reason with Dak Prescott and him. I don't understand why the Cowboys would do it. But if they did do it, that would be the best for the overall, I think, NFL brand. Cowboys already talked about too much. With Deshaun Watson going there, they're only going to be talked about more. So that would be the best for the NFL, no doubt. I think the best for him, what you said, power rankings. Let's see who got what. You got Carolina. Mm-hmm. If they can do the deal, the 3 firsts and C-Mac, I think that's a good deal for both sides. Miami obviously has the capital to do it if you're, not sold on Tua.
So Denver has been rumored to have interest.
They've been rumored to have interest as well. If he went there, having those 3 quarterbacks, I don't think that would be great for the NFL. Just having 3, quarterbacks of your future with Herbert, Mahomes, and Watson in the same division. But I guess they will play each other twice a year. I don't know. Denver sound good. Denver's young Judy and Denver sound good out there.
Darius, what would
put
you
them
do
one
with
there.
the Jets? Because in my opinion,
No. No, man, I don't. I mean, you don't leave Houston to go to the Jets.
But my thing from the Jets' perspective, you don't trade Jamal Adams unless you use the capital for a moment like this. Like
Right, but Deshaun Watson has no trade clause.
But
yeah, that's a big part of it.
I get that, but think about this, and I'm trying to think about for the best stories.
I'm trying to bet on a team that's actually going to sign
the Giants, like Daniel Jones.
Are you trying to bet?
Well,
the Jets haven't won a Super Bowl since Super Bowl III. They haven't won a Super Bowl since merger. If you go to New York and you take the Jets team that has been second fiddle in that city for as long as we've all been alive,
right,
and you turn them into a contender in an AFC East where like there's some mountains to climb.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're a Hall of Famer. Like first ballot.
But why wouldn't you go that same rationale if your goal is to be a Hall of Famer? Why wouldn't you just go to Miami? Like it's not nearly, you don't have to climb Mount Everest, but if you
win a Super Bowl, and Dan Marino's never won a Super Bowl for that franchise, you're the GOAT too. I get it. I'm just saying,
big fact. And you play Josh Allen twice a year too. I would like to see that.
True.
They were falling over themselves for Mark Sanchez when the guy won 4 playoff games back when back when you were playing. And
that was same heyday.
And he's trash, and he was trash at the time. Like Deshaun's actually good, and he would own that city. Like they were falling over themselves for Tim Tebow. Like
you're not leaving Houston to go to New York if you're Deshaun. He wants to win. He came into the league as a winner, won championship at college. Like he wants to win. I don't think he would sign off on that. I understand it from the Jets, from their standpoint. I mean, definitely make a play for him if you. I mean, it would be negligent not to, but from Deshaun's standpoint, I don't think he would sign off on that.
Okay,
not enough weapons. It's
not a great team. They have Robert Saleh, and he might.
They have a ton of cap space, and they have a good head coach. They have a head coach.
Cap space means nothing to players.
Lining up
cap space and draft picks,
$30 million cap space.
Yeah, when you're ready to go into a situation. Yeah, you're trying to go into a situation to win. Like, okay, how is this locker room? What is this locker room missing? Is this team just missing a dynamic quarterback? And I could be that missing piece that will get us to the championship level. If that's not the case, like for a player like that, I mean, you're not going to go to the Jets. That's another rebuild, essentially.
Podcasts are gonna go to their grave knowing I tried.
You tried.
You did try. You did try.
So based on your criteria, I've got Carolina, I've got Denver, I have San Francisco, and I have Miami.
Carolina.
Those will all be championship caliber teams with Deshaun Watson.
Carolina low key is a great spot. And here's why. The Saints are going to stink for a while. The Bucks are going to probably fall off the face of the earth when Brady does, which might be 10 years from now. We don't know.
Right.
But eventually that ship is.
I don't know. They'll be competitors for a while, even after Brady's gone, I think.
They have a good team, and Arians.
I think.
But Licht has done a good job.
And Atlanta's Atlanta. So Carolina has like a legit chance to win that division right away.
Okay.
With Watson.
Yeah.
And Joe Brady's still there. And Joe Brady is probably could have gotten a head coaching job after this year. Rules fine, and they drafted a ton on defense, so they'll probably be better there. And they have Robbie Anderson, possibly Curtis Samuel if they retain him, and DJ Moore. Like it's a good team. They're a good a elite quarterback away from being a contender.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, that division, how it's made up, even when all those quarterbacks were, in their heyday, that was a division that was, hard to win back to back. So if you get Deshaun Watson in his prime in that division, like you said, obviously Brady's, he's at the end of his career. That could be a great situation for him. And we kind of talked about it earlier on the pod today, actually. He played college, obviously, in the Carolinas. He's from Georgia. So that'll be that looks like a good all-around situation.
Yeah, he played college football in Clemson,
maybe
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
I'm underappreciating Charlotte. It's an up-and-coming place. I'm a big believer in watching what the person does in their off time. And he's been in New York, and he's been in Florida, and he's been on a boat with his girlfriend. And to me, that screams Miami.
But the other thing that the Panthers have, I think, which you tweeted about, George, the Houston Texans are the mark in the NFL. And the one thing that Carolina has, and they can absolutely sell this to Houston, is a running back that everybody thinks is a star, but ultimately, like, you know, Christian McCaffrey's a great football player, but running backs don't move the needle that much. But if you throw him into the
they will value him way more.
Houston will take away a first-round pick in their asking price, and you're golden.
Because they can
put Mike Davis's,
because they'll sell it as the Texans have to hang a banner for the like player they bring in, right?
Yeah.
And they can hang a Christian McCaffrey banner. And unfortunately for Christian McCaffrey, he's just going to get run 400 times.
It's where his career goes to die.
Ever.
I mean,
Yeah, and it depends on, once again, what you do with those draft picks, you know, because draft picks are good on paper, but if they're the wrong, you know, Cleveland Browns had a ton of high first-round draft picks for a long time, but it took a long time for them to actually get, you know, players in there to where they're finally winning. So it depends. And one more thing I just thought about Carolina that they have is Cam Newton's legacy. You know what I mean? If he'll want to come behind that, you know, being the young quarterback from Georgia, you know, Cam, I'm sure, has had a huge impact on, you know, his game coming up. So would he want to go and step into those shoes to follow that up? You know, would he be opposed or for that? So I think that'll also factor into it.
Plus, Bridgewater is kind of a quarterback you can throw in a trade and be like, remember when the Denver Broncos traded Jay Cutler and they got Kyle Orton back? Kind of that Kyle Orton you get back in one of those dumb trades where you alienated your quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like,
you could start him for a year.
Bridgewater's like
absolutely
top 20 quarterback in the NFL. Well, and he's better. Like the Houston Texans right now, like, you have to hang a number on Josh McCown starting some games next year. Like, that's how bad they are.
From head coach candidate to starting quarterback. What a story. Let's talk a little bit about some free agent wide receivers, because I want a defensive backs perspective here on kind of the 4 top guys and then a fringe 5th. So if you look at PFF.com, our free agency rankings, our 4 in no particular order are Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Allen Robinson, and Will Fuller. If you are looking at that group, how are you ranking them in terms of who you're going after?
I will go Allen Robinson at the top. Allen Robinson will be 1. Man, it's a toss-up between Godwin and Golladay. Godwin's healthy. I'll go Godwin be 2. Golladay will be 3. Fuller, damn. How much do I value speed as an organization, as a team? If I value speed, Fuller will have to jump up there. But my rankings, Fuller will be 4.
Yeah, so, I mean, Robinson does appear to be the hardest guy to cover. And I've never, played cornerback, but I feel like
I'll put him at 1 on this list.
Because the thing with Robinson is, like, there are some concerns with he and Golladay about separation, because neither guy is a brilliant separator, but both guys are very good at the catch point. And I think Golladay is less good of a separator than Robinson, and Robinson's probably equally good at the catch point. But the thing about Robinson is he's a mixed bag, because you just have never seen him play
exactly
quarterback ever. So, like,
exactly.
No, like, he could be legitimately a top 2, 5 receiver in the NFL, and we would have never known by now. And the fact that good numbers with awful quarterback play, I think, is probably the biggest feather in his cap.
I agree with you 100%. And obviously, playing with him in his younger years when he was down in Jacksonville, being in Indy, seeing him twice a year, and, not having great quarterback talent, and then going and dealing with what he's been dealing with in Chicago, and still consistently producing, still consistently getting better. So I think if you put him in the right situation, obviously he's a free agent, so he's going to find the best situation for him. But if you put him with a good quarterback, above average quarterback, you should see his production take leaps. And, Godwin's, he's right there. He can be a 1B. He does it like play on the outside, he can play on the inside. Kind of got a little inconsistent in the playoffs this year, but, it was a big stage, first time being there. I'm sure that factored in. So put him there. Galladay 3, just because, he was coming off a banged up season. And then Fuller, throughout his career, he's kind of been inconsistent. Playing this year was his best year by far. It was about him being healthy and consistently catching the ball. And he was obviously doing that before the suspension. So, he could easily jump up there and come off the board at 2.
I worry so much about Fuller because he played a lot of games in this first few years, but he was nicked up in some, right? And then he played basically healthy the entire season this year, and then obviously got dinged for PEDs. And you wonder to yourself, okay, was the fact that he was healthy in all those games a product of what he was suspended for? Because if you can guarantee me 16 games of Will Fuller being 100%, I think he's the best player on this list. Just because, he showed that he was more than just a speed guy this year. He was the number 1 player on that passing offense. And the problem is that let's say you take away you take away the
drugs.
You take away the variables and he's back to a guy who's like a pop-up guy, right? He's like a perfect, like if you put him on Kansas City or let's say he replaces Antonio Brown in Tampa Bay, you put him on an elite offense as the 3, he's perfect. Right? Because you go some games 0-0, and then other games it's like 7 for 180 when you're,
Randy Moss.
Yeah. And like, that's the problem though, is I don't know, this is back in the day, but it's sort of like Bernard Berrien, right? Where the one year Bernard Berrien was the number 1 wide receiver in free agency, the number 1 wide out in free agency. And it's like the Vikings gave him a ton of money, and it's like, but he's still a 3. He's still a number 3 wideout. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Will Fuller in that. I would say he was definitely a cut above.
I was going to say that is
what Bernard Berrien was. But like you said, if Will Fuller could, it's hard to say guarantee you healthy, especially when this was the only year we saw it consistently, and he got popped for the PED. So it's a question mark there. But if you could get the Will Fuller that was playing this year to show up next year, yeah, he would definitely be the one. But obviously, those are some pretty big variables to gamble on. But he changed the game, though. He changed the game. That's something you have to defend, something you have to game plan for. You got to be aware of when that matchup is one-on-one. So he definitely changes the game.
You bring package deal Will Fuller and Brian Cushing, strength and conditioning coach, and you're in great shape. You can make sure he's healthy. Allen Robinson, this is interesting. I was looking at this prepping for the podcast, and Allen Robinson and Kenny Golladay are the same age. Allen Robinson feels like he's been in the league for like 15 years.
Yeah, I would have thought he was at least 2 years older.
Yeah, he got unlucky because he went into free agency post ACL, and he was tore his ACL. Remember that was one where Borg hit him on his broken knee just to like say, hey, and then he goes to free agency, and he went to somehow he picked Chicago over Green Bay. I'm imagining Green Bay just offered him less. But he's on his 3rd deal where Galladay's on his 2nd. But Galladay when healthy is also very he's going to be a good number 1 for the team that gets him, and he might get gotten at a discount given all the crap that happened this year.
Yeah, maybe. Is there a wide receiver and team pairing that you particularly like, Darius, just in knowing first off who these guys are, but then also looking at teams that maybe were like a 2nd or a 3rd or even a number 1 away, you think, from being a Super Bowl contender?
If the guys that I talked to in Miami, they say they just think Tua was putting there a little too early, and he's got some potential. He's not as bad as a lot of people are making him out to be. So if you get Tua a true number 1 wide receiver down there, I think a lot of young guys got snaps down here. I think that could be a very, very good team going forward. Miami, maybe it's the home team thing, but if you could get an Allen Robinson for a Tua, I think that can pay huge dividends for that offense, for that team, and for the new play caller. So I will pair those guys. Godwin can fit. He can fit anywhere, I feel. Who's a receiver away though? It's a tough. Obviously, Indy needs a receiver. They need a big time receiver, but they don't have a quarterback, so that's not going to be a great destination. They have the money, so I don't know. I would go Dolphins and the Colts for obvious reasons. Yeah, but who you got?
Well, the Dolphins are a great one because the thing with Tua is you don't want to give any doubt, right? So if you put in Robinson, Preston Williams, Devontae Parker, Jakeem Grant, Mike Gesicki, all in your passing offense, and he fails. He fails because he's not good enough. If he performs, then you have the great problem, which is, do we extend him, right? Because he's a great quarterback. So the hard part with a young QB is always like not giving him enough weapons and then having the question, like Drew Lock. Drew Lock had all the weapons in the world this year. He sucked. Okay, move on. Like that's, Josh Allen.
You know what you got there.
Well, good. I think the Dolphins are a great one.
Yeah, I like the Dolphins too. And I could even see a guy like Will Fuller, who I think might get, I think that the market might be depressed because of all the good rookies, because of the PEDs. You might get him for real cheap. And I think that's a necessary piece for Tua because he does not, he needs to throw to open guys. And needs to throw to open guys over the middle of the field. And not that Allen Robinson can't do that, but I think that's an element that Will Fuller brings that I like a lot. I also like him in Green Bay as a cheaper option. I just want, to give Aaron Rodgers all the weapons.
That'll be ugly if you got in Green Bay.
I think Kansas City is going to be a sneaky one with one of these wide receivers. Like I think, I think just looking at what's happened with the superstar quarterbacks in the league, voicing displeasure at their team, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do one of the things that Mahomes asked them to do this year, just to get out ahead of that situation. Like, But
does that mean signing a tackle?
Yeah, I mean, there are tackles in the draft though. Like, I think if they go out and get like what if they went out and got early or went out and got a Will Fuller, like if they got like the next. Like last year it was Amari Cooper and then a Cliff and then Robbie Anderson. If they got the first wide receiver below the Cliff, it would really help because that was the tackle situation in the Super Bowl was really the problem number one. But number two was Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, none of their secondary guys got open early in the down. And that was really what they couldn't survive. And if they get another guy in that mix, it really makes them pretty stable on offense.
Darius, let me ask you about this guy real quick because I think he's going to get overpaid. What's your opinion of Juju?
I think he's a solid number two. I think he's a solid two. I don't think you put him in a position. Yeah, on the outside for sure. I mean, he can still play on the outside, I believe. He's one of those guys that he's got to continue to make tough contested catches and be a good run after catch type guy. I don't think he's the big play, Will Fuller type guy, but he can also sneak in. We've seen him go 90 plus. So if he gets with a good quarterback in the right system and he's not put in that number one role, I think Juju could have a long, successful career. I hope he gets overpaid.
You just said something I think, which is great.
The Jets will be an amazing place for him.
Players need to be put in the right position. And I think that's one of the things because let's transition to wide receivers in the draft now, because I think one of the things that's interesting I noticed about your career, Darius, is you played 4 years. Like you started like 40 plus games in college. So there was a lot of information on sort of you as a player coming out. There's a lot of guys for which that's not the case, right? Like we're making like Jamar Chase is the number one wide receiver on our draft board, and he didn't even play a season ago. Jalen Waddle
played one game,
barely played this season. Devontae Smith is basically a 2-year wonder, more or less. Now, when you approach thinking about the draft here, do you change the way you think about a player based upon how much they played at the college level?
I mean, that matters, but what comes out on that film is what matters the most. I want to see if they are a player that continually gets better, or they're a player that can get jammed at the line the same, like they don't learn from different coverage, they don't learn from different situations in the game. They continue to get better. So that's what I want to look at on film, regardless if I saw you for one season, if I saw 12 games of you, or I saw 32 games of you. If game 1 and game 13 look similar, regardless of what your production is, I don't see that working in the NFL level. So I match the talent with the progression throughout your career. And I think that's where you kind of come up with, okay, I haven't seen Jamar Chase for a year plus, but when I saw him go against these top tier SEC receivers week after week after week after week, I see his body type. That's still a guy that I would still, put up there at the top of the draft. So I agree with that position, but it really depends on the player, how long they're playing and how they progress throughout their career.
Right, because you could see a guy play for 4 years but never get better.
Exactly.
And like it was Damon Arnett was the guy last year for Ohio State that got drafted by the Raiders, he was like 23 years old. So of course he's going to play better than most Big Ten wide receivers because he's older. But like, how much was he getting better? How much, was there potential there? Those are like great questions. And it might not be as much as a guy's played, but it's how much they got better. As we saw with Joe Burrow, like there wasn't a ton of experience of playing high level football for Burrow. There was some good experience though, which was adversity, coach change, adapting to a new coach, playing outrageously good football. Like that's probably worth more than, let's say, a guy like Baker Mayfield, for example, who excelled in one particular system for 3 consecutive years, although he did also transfer. But like those are really interesting contextual things that I wonder, as we sort of like go into draft season, do they matter? And I think it's weird now because we're going to have so many disjointed careers.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy this year. People, the front office is really going to have to earn their money. But I mean, even with all those boxes checked, the biggest variable is still the player and how do you react in those different situations once it goes? Because everybody, if you're at that level, if you're at that point in the draft, that position, like you've been the best player on the field pretty much your entire life. So now it's going to be actual play snaps in practice. It's going to be games where you're not the best player on the field. It's a completely different environment. So how do you continue to evolve in that environment, I think factors in as well. And then coaching, some coaches are kind of overconfident and you kind of that's when you see some players get overdrafted. And then you think, okay, since I have this, this ego, I guess, as a coach, which you should, but I can fix him or I can make him this, even though I've only seen him do this. So, coaches can mess that up or be right on that. So there's so many different variables. And that's why you see, so many different situations in the draft, even at the top.
That's why the draft is so awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
All the variables. Like once a guy's in the league, you're like, okay, I know the value of this variable, give or take. I can't maximize it. But before that, when you're looking at him as a prospect, you're like, look, I could max out all of these and this guy could be a Hall of Famer. And so, like, the excitement, it's like playing the lottery, but thinking you have a legit shot to win, which is why I'm so excited about it. That you brought up something that I wanted to ask you as someone that has been a player and gone through this. So you're trying to ascertain, like, can this guy continue to improve? What is his work ethic like? What is his mental state like?
Yeah.
And you always hear these cockamamie questions from the combine, like, all of these ridiculous things that people ask. If you're trying to ascertain whether this guy can make it, how are you going to do that?
You got to talk to the right people, talk to coaches that you trust, talk to teammates, opponents. I'm talking to opposing coaches. You just try to gather as much of that information as possible. And then, once you do that, once the culture that you bring a certain player in, you also got to be aware of that. You got to be conscious of that too, because that can play a huge role. Because if I'm taking this corner, let's say top 10 in the draft, I bring him in my locker room and he's the oldest, he's the best guy by far in the meeting room. So it's no other high paid player at this position. There's no other big time player at this position. So it's nobody really higher than him on the totem pole. And that's going to affect his evolution as a player. Who's going to help him? Who's going to show him how to be a pro? Who is he actually going to have the respect to allow to be, kind of checked, I guess, essentially from different time to time. So it's so many different things. But I would just say gather as much information as possible from, teammates, allies, and then obviously people, within, let's say he played in the Big East like I did, the opponents that saw me every year for 3-4 years. Like, what did you think about this player? Because if you asked me what I thought about Darrelle Revis, seeing him at Pittsburgh, I would have gave you a whole rundown as an opposing corner and somebody play receiver. So it's just, you get different perspectives and you keep, gathering information from credible sources.
So you wouldn't say that having a staring contest tell you a ton of information. What do you remember anything crazy about, going through that process? One of the most ridiculous things you either were asked or heard that was asked or asked to do or whatever?
Nothing too wild because I was prepped going into it. my agent had these people kind of prep me. Okay, these are some. It's going to be some off the wall stuff, but I didn't have too many coaches just say anything crazy to me. I got honestly like philosophical type questions, like, you know, what type of animal would you be if you came back, you know, if reincarnated, or and why, or what's the most valuable thing to you, you know, like just anything, just tell me. And I remember I actually got that question from Steve Wilkes. He was like, what's the most valuable thing? And I was thinking, a family, God, like, what do I say? I can't say money. Let me see. And I was like, time. Time is, it's the only thing
That's
you
good.
can put in, you can't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. He was like, man, that's the right answer. I probably only heard that answer 2 times in 12 years, some crazy shit like that. So it was it's an experience, but it's fun. But I got a good group of guys. I didn't get anything too crazy.
What was your animal?
What was my animal?
Damn. That's a good question. Do you have one that comes to the top of the mind, Eric?
I don't know. Right now, I would say a wolf right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say a wolf right now.
Wolf is an interesting one.
Yeah, I believe in moving in packs.
Somebody that sees everything.
You said
don't do much. That's the hard part.
You don't have a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like wolves, they out there, they got each other back. Everybody knows their role. You keep the right people in the right positions, and I will come back, as a wolf.
Wolf is a good one. I think I might go dolphin.
Well, they were
Dolphins. Wow.
Here's the big thing. I just want to be somewhere warm, man.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
trying to get to the ocean, so I would go dolphin.
You're still a mammal too. It's not too many mammals around. You only got whale and the really dolphin. Cool. Yeah, dolphin's a good one. They have fun.
And you're not the evilest thing in the water,
right?
And you're not the most hunted thing in the water.
Killer whale would be kind of sick.
Yeah.
I think
too slow. I feel like I would want to be a little more nimble. Dolphins, I think dolphins are good. They're nimble. They move in packs too. Yeah. Like I said, they kind of. They're actually more dangerous to sharks. Honestly, I don't know if you all know that. I'm not South Florida guys, but
I got all the propaganda from Free Willy back in the day.
That's not what I expected to hear.
I don't remember much about that movie other than his his fin curled when he went in there.
Man, that was a sad movie.
I need to learn more, so I need to make a trip to South Florida to educate myself as a part of
SeaWorld. That's what I'm saying. They sold SeaWorld subscriptions based on that movie.
I've been looking. Darius, in full, being completely honest, last weekend it was like 8 p.m. on Friday, and I had just finished a piece of work that I need to get done. I went on Google Flights and looked up Cincinnati to Miami flights. And if there had been one that was direct, I would be in Miami right now. But there's no direct flights out of Cincinnati. It's gonna take me like 8 hours to get there. I was like,
I would have been like Will Smith in Fresh Prince in the studio for our podcast.
Yes. By yourself.
Listen, it's a lot of people thinking along those same lines, because these hotel rooms around me are crazy.
Really?
I had some family coming in, and I'm looking, all the prices jacked up. So I guess a bunch of people kind of, fleeing their states and coming down here for a few weeks, few months.
I was looking at Florida hotel rooms for later in the year, but the ones that I was looking at in Marco Island this week were $750 a night on some not the most expensive hotels.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're price gouging out here right now.
I'd sleep on the beach. All I need is a place to work out, and maybe I'll come to DB's gym, get a workout in. I have another buddy who has a gym out there. He's been working out outside the entirety of the past 8 months, basically since quarantine. And it's another thing where I'm just like, man, can you chill out for one day?
Yes.
Let me live for one day.
It's so much better for you too, man. When you get that sun on you, it does something. That's one thing I do not miss about being in cold weather places, man. Oof.
I bet. All right, I got to get you out of here on this. I saw that Tyreek Hill was looking for some defensive backs in South Florida. And I believe that what you said is, come find me. You won't get off the line.
I don't talk trash going into a battle, only after the work is done. But it's crazy how that got misconstrued. He threw that out there, and I got a younger brother that Denzel Butler. He played at Akron. He graduated a couple years ago. So I actually added him and put the eyeball, little bro sent the screenshot and sent it to him, you ready? And Tyreek back. I'm like, all right, DM me the park. And then my co-host, Antoine Bethea, jumped in and was like, hey, man, don't pull your hand me, do it, keep it just to releases. And then, I couldn't back down. So, now I got to see what these 34-year-old legs feel like.
Oh, so it's happening.
No, it has not happened, but
it is.
It's not something that I back down from. I mean, that's something that we do. South Florida guys all throughout my career. It's been plenty times throughout my career was somebody was at a park or somebody was working out at some place, and hey, man, anybody trying to get some one-on-ones in some 7-on-7, oh yeah, let's go pull up. Like that's something you can't. That's like somebody saying like, hey, anybody out here want to fight me? Like, yeah, can't. Come on, man. So
that's like the smart thing about it's like a baseball player saying if you hit the ball far enough, you don't have to run. If you have a good enough jam at the line of scrimmage, you don't have to run as a DB.
That's a good point.
Like you neutralize the guy right away.
But I don't anticipate me getting many of those against Tyreek Hill. He's obviously, I will put him one right now in the NFL as receiver. But like I said, as a competitor, it wouldn't be something I would back down from at all. But I wouldn't expect to dominate. But if an old man sneak out a couple reps, that's all I need to edit and throw on the ground.
You've got to sell out there, right? Like, because if he off the line, like, we expect that, right?
Yeah.
But if you get it and you shut him down right there, that's the only clip you need. You're walking off.
DBs in a one-on-one matchup with Hill, that's every single DB. Fast or slow is only hope. Because if you turn your hips and try to run with the guy, it's like I don't care if it's Darryl Green, he's not freaking running with Tyreek Hill at this. Like
that Tyreek Hill in a one-on-one situation, that's lose-lose, especially with no pressure on the quarterback. Now, the big factor is who's the quarterback. So, the big factor is who's the quarterback. So if I get, in between him and the quarterback, I don't care who the receiver is. So
you get Drew Lock out there and he might throw you the ball.
Oh yeah. If I get Lock out here, the odds are gonna move.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've seen on a park in one-on-ones in South Florida?
Oh man, I mean,
is there anyone that's just like a legend? Like they would just go out there and cook dudes for like 5 hours and then peace out?
Some of the most impressive things I saw from and I've seen a lot of these young, because I got younger brothers who are these different age groups. So I saw, young Hollywood Brown. I saw Judy out at parks. JoJo Natson. So when you see so many, Antonio Brown, we worked out a lot together in the same place in the off season. So you done seen a little bit of everything, but it's the best going against the best. So you'll see somebody get done, and then the next rep they go, the other person get theirs back. So I mean, it's all competition. But you done seen some crazy things.
Jerry Jeudy is, I think.
Jeudy, that was different. I think he had some stuff of legends, I would say.
That's what Xavier Howard was saying. He was on podcast with Chris and Richard, and they started talking about Jerry Jeudy, and Xavier Howard was like, he turned me around on a slant.
We had him on the podcast too, and I asked him who was. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm pretty sure Pat Mahomes doesn't want to see Watson on Denver for Jeudy alone, let alone Cortland Sutton and all those other great receivers on that team.
If Jeudy gets I asked Xavier Howard, and he had, I would say, the best year as a DB, having 10 picks, having the year that he had wire to wire. I asked him, who was one of the best guys you went against this year? And the first guy out of his mouth was Jeudy. He was like, hey, man, that young cat is. So, hearing that from X, obviously he's been around for a while. And, he went against, the best of the best, Tyreek, Diggs, all type of guys. And for Jeudy to jump to the top of his mind, that says a lot. So I hope he gets a young nice quarterback in his prime.
The best part was that route that he referenced. I pulled up the clip because we just,
man,
and the ball just sails over his head. It's like you would need to stack LeBron on top of Anthony Davis to catch this pass. But that's the point there. Darius, I'm going to make my way out to South Florida. We're going to play some ball.
Let's do it.
We got to make it happen. We're going to bring you on to the basketball team when we ever get a tournament going. It was a lot of fun, man. Thanks for hanging out, brother.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. This is fun.
Hey, anytime, man. Darius Butler. Special thanks to Darius Butler. You go check out all of his stuff on the Man to Man Pod with Anthony Bethea, Everything DB. He's great on Twitter and Instagram.
Former 49er, Antoine Bethea.
Yes.
You're
We have a cool episode coming for you guys on Sunday. Let's tease it a little bit here. NFL quarterback, your mom's, your girlfriend's, your sister's, your dog's favorite quarterback will be on this podcast on Sunday. You'll want to check it out. You will not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. See you guys later.